Today I'm on the Cornish coast at St Michael's Mount. I'm here to photograph this. Well, good morning. You join me on the Cornish coast here at St Michael's Mount. It's 4:45. Sunrise is in about 25 minutes, and I'm here to photograph this. It's looking a bit cloudy, so I don't think I'm going to get the sunrise I was hoping for, but we're here anyway, so let's try and make a decent photograph and see what we can come up with. The tide's out. It's at the lowest tide at the moment, which kind of coincides with sunrise, which is really quite convenient. So that means that I'm here on this causeway, and I've got a good lead-in line going up to the mount. So I'm going to get the camera out, get the camera on the tripod, and let's see what we can figure out. Right, I think I've got my composition sorted out and dialed into the camera. Basically, I've got the causeway as my main lead-in line, but I'm using the edges of the causeway to kind of sweep your eye through the frame. And then what I'm using this time, instead of the rule of thirds, I'm using a variation on that, which is the golden ratio. Okay, so this is roughly the composition I've got that I've set up on the DSLR. I'm actually going a bit old school today. I'm going retro. I've got the 5D Mark III with me, so I'm using a DSLR today instead of mirrorless. Yeah, I thought I'd get it out of the cupboard and go a bit retro and use that for a change. So down this side, what I've got is this lead-in line from the causeway, which is kind of a little bit straight to start with, and it's kind of disappearing off, and then there's a gentle curve which is leading off to the mount that way, which is okay. But this is the side I'm really interested in. So this is coming in from the bottom right corner of the frame, and it's sweeping up through the center of the frame and then back around. So that sweeping curve, I think, is quite photogenic. So that's the way I've got it set up, and it leads your eye straight into the mount there. And as I was saying about the golden ratio, the height of the horizon in the frame, whether it's absolutely spot on in camera is a little bit difficult to tell, but that's what the cropping overlays are useful for in Lightroom. So what I'm going to do is put that horizon line on the golden ratio line, which is going to be slightly lower than a third of the frame into the top. So it's not quite going to be on the rule of thirds, and I'm going to be using the golden ratio top horizontal line instead. And then the mount there itself, the vertical of the middle of the church, that's going to be on one of the vertical lines on the golden ratio as well. So it's not going to be rule of thirds on this one. I'm trying something a little bit different, something I don't use very often, the golden ratio, but it's one of those things that you should try and maybe use a little bit more often. But as I was saying, this is a very much a cliche shot. This has probably been shot thousands of times before, so it's not very inventive, I'm afraid. But I've not done this before, and it's good for me to get in my photo library. But the good thing is, just up here, there's quite a bit of texture in the cloud. So hopefully that will come out in the photo, and I can either put an ND grad on here in photo, or I've got a dog coming to say hello. I can put an ND grad in Lightroom, so I'll make sure I've got that detail in the sky. Now, because there's not much of a sunrise and there's no colour in the sky, the other option I've got is to turn this photo black and white and really bring out the contrast and the details. So we could try that. So that's my composition. Exposure I'm just playing around with at the moment. The sky's brightening up a bit now, and but it's still quite dull over beyond on the horizon. So I'm just going to play with some exposures and get my focus point sorted out. I'm going to be shooting at probably f16. I might go down to f11, but f16 seems to be where I probably should be, because I've got the cobbles on the causeway just down here that I want in focus, kind of on the bottom of the frame, and obviously I want St Michael's Mount in as well. So, so I'm just looking at my focus point. I don't think I'll need to focus stack on this one, and that's it. So I'm using my 17 to 40 at the moment, and I'm on about 20 millimeters. So it's a little bit wider than I normally shoot, but it's good to get the wide angle lens out and give this one a go. And that's it. It's been really quite windy here for the last few days, but it's nice and calm now. So I don't think I'm going to be needing to use a long exposure for this particular shot. So yeah, let's get properly set up, get the focus sorted out, and get the exposure dialed in. We'll see what we come out with. So at the moment, while I'm just playing around with exposures and getting my focus point sorted out, I've raised the ISO up to 400 just to stop the exposure being too long, just so that I can get my focus dialed in. So I'm just going through that picture, that image, and just zooming right into 10 times and just checking my foreground, which is nicely in focus, and the church on St Michael's Mount, that looks like it's in focus as well. It's a bit difficult to tell really, because it's a little bit hazy, or a little bit misty I should say. But checking my histogram, that's all good. No peaking highlights, no blocking shadows. So I think that's right. So what I'm going to do now is go back to ISO 100, and that exposure gives me 5 seconds. Okay, so I'm down on the beach now, and just looking at foregrounds, and I've got a nice big rock here and lots of seaweed, and just got the edge of the water here. The tide's still going out a little bit I think, but we got a bit of breeze coming in now, and I thought I'd try and get this rock in, which is covered with a bit of seaweed, and try and get all of this seaweed here in the shot as well. There's quite a lot around, so I think it'd be quite nice to kind of make that part of the picture as well. So that's what I'm doing here, just setting up the composition. The tripod is a lot lower this time. A good tip is just to have the bottom legs of the tripod in the water and the sand. That makes the whole thing a bit easier to clean up afterwards, rather than getting into the sliding parts of the legs. Just put the bottom bits of the legs in into the water and the sand, and that just kind of looks after your tripod a bit. So yeah, I'm just setting this composition up. I'm using rule of thirds, so the rock here in the bottom left, and the mount itself in the top right. I'm travelling a little bit light. I haven't got a polarizer with me today, so I can't really use it to get into the water, but it might work. It should work okay. Anyway, let's get the camera properly set up, get the focus and the composition properly sorted out, and see what we can come up with. Right, I'm all set up now. I think what am I shooting? Still on f16, just to make sure everything's in focus. A sharp background subject and a sharp foreground, and my exposure now is about 1 second. So let's try that one. While I was coming to set this composition up, I was looking at the ripples in the sand, and because there's no directional light, it's quite flat light with the lack of sun. The ripples don't really stand out, so it's not really bringing out the texture of the sand. So I've decided not to use those. Okay, so hopefully I've got some good pictures in the camera, some good enough pictures to work with in Lightroom. So I'll do some editing and I'll put the pictures up for you to see right now. Nice to be shooting some landscapes again. If you're a follower of this channel, you'll have seen that I've been shooting a lot of aviation stuff recently, and it is getting into airshow season now, so it's going to be even more aviation photography in the next few months. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you on the channel again very soon. Take care. Bye for now.